Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the Irish Hills of Michigan as it plays host to the 5th race of the second season of the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series. Here today, getting ready for the BackFire 200 presented by Auto Ventures and BAM Auto. 80 laps of racing, 160 miles at this speedway slash super speedway here today. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Scott Rankin. Scott coming off a rather chaotic race last week at the tricky Triangle of Pocono. A lot more space for these drivers to work with. 5 grooves available in the corners. We're not expecting they're going to use all those grooves, but it should hopefully make for some long green flag runs. And as we were talking about before we came on the air, more than likely pit strategy in terms of tires.
Yeah, tires are going to be a huge factor here tonight. I'm just out and I'm just doing a couple laps at this point in time. The car is strongly resisting turning into the corner. The way that the car is utilizing its grip is it's leaning very, very heavily on the right front corner of the tire. It doesn't want to rotate on the right rear corner of the tire, which is always bad for overall lap times. I'm estimating quickly tonight that the guys that can conserve tires early on in the run, that's going to be a little bit of lift and coast into the corners just to allow the car to rotate just a little bit. They're going to make hay very, very early on in the stints. I'm talking like 5-10 laps into any of these runs, you'll see those guys immediately start to surface.
Well, so far this season, in the first 4 races, we have had 4 different drivers go to victory lane. For 3 of them, it has been their first career win here in the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series. But we're going to cover the qualifying results in just a moment. Now we go down to trackside for pre-race ceremonies. Let's begin with the invocation tonight, courtesy of Pastor Zach Woods.
Let's pray. Almighty God, I thank you for this opportunity to participate in iRacing tonight with friends from around the world. And Lord, we pray for those tonight that are still suffering with COVID. This is a community of guys that just want to rally around each other, Lord. So we pray for your healing in their contexts and circumstances. Lord, I pray for patience for us tonight, and let us put on a good show. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
And now please join us in honoring America with the singing of tonight's national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and all of the brave?
Moments away from the green flag flying here tonight at Michigan International Raceway. Qualifying is just winding down. Buxovati was up there at the top of the board about maybe 2 minutes into the session. Nobody has had a challenge for him, as he is going to be the one to lead us to green. Looking to be the first repeat winner on the season. As you know, mentioned this is a speedway slash super speedway. Well, the first speedway or super speedway we were at this season was the season opener at Daytona, and that's where he took the checkered flag.
Yeah, I was just having a quick look through the field. I mean, you know, there's been some strong performances and whatnot. Just off of air, we were talking about, again, David Motorsport. I think he's got a huge responsibility this week. I ended up actually sitting down and having a huge conversation with both him and Zachary Woods, and what a race it was from Zach Woods to drive himself from 7 laps down all the way back up to the lead lap last week and put himself at least in contention. That was awesome to watch. But additionally, from David Motorsport, it was talking to him about exactly what Zach Woods said during the invocation. Patience, putting your cars in the right spots, making sure that you're allowing enough space for your competitors. It is a wide track here at Michigan. Pocono was wide. Don't get me wrong. Pocono is still as wide. Turn 2 is obviously quite narrow. It's generally considered to be only 2 grooves at best, and 1.5 at worst through that section of the track. But here at Michigan, it is wide and it doesn't constrict the whole way around the track. The cars are gonna get tight at some point throughout these runs tonight. Like I said, we're gonna be leaning on that front right. It's gonna be quite bad for a lot of these guys. So again, patience on that throttle. Let the car rotate. Let the car get through the corners and get back to it. If you're sitting in a draft train, that's probably the best thing that you can possibly do. I'm laying back initially on this inertial jump. I'm looking to conserve that right front tire, and then I'm gonna push hard towards the middle and back end of these fuel stints.
27 drivers scheduled to take the green flag here tonight. You saw down to 23rd place Gene Cato. He was the last driver to take time. Tom Bourne will be rolling off from the 24th position. Row 13 with Bronson Stafford and Mike Tellier. And Clifford Corbeau will be bringing up the rear of the field in the 27th position. So looking here through the field, the opportunity for us to go 5 for 5 in different winners this season. Anybody that jumps out to you here that maybe should have gone to victory lane the past 4 weeks that maybe can get it done here tonight?
Really am waiting for the 99 machine to refine that surgence that he had at Daytona. He was on for a strong finish in my mind, just in the back of my mind, and I've seen flashes of brilliance. There's been a lot of those right up and down the field. When you talk about overall driver speed, Tom Bourne sticks out to me as well, but obviously he's mired a long way down the list here tonight, so he's got a lot of work ahead of him. But he's also been one of the strongest drivers in the field yet to sign his name on victory lane. DJ Daniels, he's had a difficult season. If we're going to specifically focus in on one driver, DJ Daniels is probably the driver that's had, again, flashes of brilliance, been in positions to give himself opportunities to win races, but he's never actually been there when it all comes to said and done. I don't even think DJ has been on the podium yet this season, which we should have expected from him so far. He's got a lot of work to do here tonight, and again, Michigan's a great track, and he's put in a strong qualifying effort for the first time this season.
Great point. At this point last season, DJ Daniel was already a 2-time winner. Now he is second in the points, but as you mentioned, has not found victory lane yet here in Season 2. He'll be alongside of his teammate pole sitter Brock Silvati as they'll bring him down here to get the BackFire 200 at Michigan under the green flag.
Honestly, those JKR Motorsports guys, they've got to work together tonight. The last few weeks, they've been tripping over each other a whole bunch. That is not acceptable from a team racing standpoint. You want to be putting as many of those cars up into the interview booth at the post-race panel.
Silvati trying to edge ahead the shorter way around the racetrack, but the faster way is going to be up there on the top side. Daniel going to pull alongside, might actually get the run here down the back straightaway with help from Christopher Woodard, our winner from Atlanta a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Woodard's had a phenomenal season. Correct me if I'm wrong, Seth, but I'm assuming he's got to be the points leader at this point in time.
He would indeed be the points leader. 5 points over DJ Daniels, so how about that? Top 2 in points, gonna drag races to the start-finish line, see who's gonna lead lap 1, give it to the 24 by maybe a little less than half a car length.
Yeah, and Woodard's been strong. Early on in the stints, he's not necessarily been very quick, but as soon as you get about 5 to 10 laps on those tires for Chris Woodard, he has been an absolute force to be reckoned with. And I expect him to do again the same tonight. Keep your eyes, though, in the middle of the back of the pack. We've got a fair few drivers that are out of sequence. Didn't have the qualifying efforts that they necessarily would normally be known for, and they're going to be fighting their way through tonight.
saw right there, the battle for second place, the crossover on the back straightaway. That's the 12 of Cam Caldwell, who found victory lane last week at Pocono. Now, obviously, very elated to get his first win here in the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series, but his job's not done yet because, as we alluded to, this is not a win-and-you're-in series. Cam Caldwell, with that victory, moved up to 18th in points. He's got 5 more spots to pick up to get up into the top correction, he has to pick up 2 more spots to get up in the top 16, with 16 drivers pointing their way into the playoff grid in the next 6 weeks.
And that's just it. You cannot afford to just come out here and become complacent. I've always said, especially to league admins, I love your point scenario. Your point scenario rewards clean driving. And last week we didn't see that from a lot of the drivers up and down the field. Pocono, very wide, very open, a lot of opportunities just to give, just to take. You're going to struggle at different points throughout the run. Same is true here tonight, but the track is just a lot wider. I like it. This is an opportunity for everyone to have looked back at last week's race, have taken a lot of notes, have made a lot of improvements, and come out here to do what they can.
Talked about Tom Bourne, not exactly where he would want to be in this starting lineup towards the rear of the field. There he is, up to the 22nd position. Going to take it 3 wide there with teammate Mike Tellier in the 47. That was David Modestbop on the top side, and there's Bronson Stafford there as well, going 3 wide. That's a trio of Camrys that are 3 wide there. I believe that was Gene Cato that was the car in the middle of that.
Yeah, these guys have got an opportunity now that they've pushed their way to the head of this group. They need to really work together and make sure that they reattach themselves to the back end of Wesley Jeanette, who's the last car of the group ahead of them. They've fallen a long way off the pace through their bickering and their squabbling, and now they've got to hook up.
Few cars in the field here, just based off what I saw in practice, that might have a little bit of a better idea of what the cars are going to feel like on the older tires with this pack racing. We're looking at one of them right now, winner from last season at Daytona, Christopher Lawrence. Another car, DJ Daniel, who's leading this race, and just a few cars behind the 9 is Jeremy Richmond. I observed these 3 drivers who ran about a 20-25 lap stint all together in a group, taking turns being out in the clean air, but also taking turns being in each other's wakes. They're going to get an idea of just how tight the race car is going to be, how much they may have to lift to be able to make it through the center of the corner the longer this run goes on.
And that's super important. When you look at an overall race scenario, you're not expecting a lot of cautions, to be perfectly honest with you. So last week, everyone should just sort of put that in the back of their minds, go, yeah, look, it was a rough week, let's move on with things. This time out, there's going to be a lot of green flag runs. You need to prepare for those. Honestly, whenever I'm getting into a race scenario, I do a couple qualifying laps, then I immediately reset and I go back to the pits. I know what I'm looking for on those qualifying laps. I'll maybe go and do another one just to make sure that I've made any adjustments, any improvements that I needed to make to that qualifying run. After that, it's all focused on the long run. Why? You should be spending a lot of your time outside of that qualifying, that peak pace style of laps. What is the importance of a qualifying run? It's only about setting a grid. The race is such a long, thorough piece of the action that it's the more important part. Ultimately, you can shake off a bad qualifying attempt, but you cannot shake off a bad race.
Right now, the driver that has worked his way to the front the quickest is jumping up to the top side of his teammate, DJ Daniel, trying to get a run there through 1 and 2. That's Alexander Kerfan, rolled off from the 7th position, up 5 spots rather, to the 2nd spot. And Kerfan's been a guy that has consistently, week after week, been one that we've looked at to possibly go to victory lane. Of course, last week I think it was at Pocono, or was it Nashville the week before, where he ended up sliding down towards the pit road wall, got involved in an incident there, and had to make a slow, methodical, work his way back up to the front, just didn't have enough laps to be able to get back up to the lead.
No, he didn't. And something else to consider as well, Seth, is I believe we saw Aaron Brown in victory lane off the top of my head last week. Look at him already. He's already contesting the 24. If you're looking for cars who are probably contesting the overall championship, my mind immediately goes to these 2 drivers. I've always had them pretty much every week in the line for a win. And ultimately, Aaron Brown's had a lot of problems with qualifying so far this season. He is always quick come the race, whereas Christopher Woodard has been good at both, and that's sort of been the difference between the 2 of them.
And how about JKR Motorsports? They swept the front row, and now 10 laps into this race, they are 1, 2, 3, 4 with Daniel Kerfan, Silvati, and Aaron Brown. Then you've got Rebel Racing completing the top 5 with Christopher Lawrence.
keep your eyes on the group that's just behind them, though, all the way up on that top side. Ultimately, I think that's where you want to be. Early on in this run, yeah, it's going to be difficult to make the overtakes, but that's not what you're after. You're not after the overtakes. You're after the long run pace. If you want that long run pace, you want that top group.
Right on board here with Matthew Fleming, who's running in the 8th position in the tire tracks of TJ Roberts, just up ahead. That's Patrick Mcquaid to his inside, and then behind them, Cam Caldwell, Jeremy Richmond duking it out for the final spot inside of the top 10. I'll tell you another guy who's flying through the field. How about up 8 spots from the 20th position, Dakota Knoll. He saw his teammate Caldwell out of Radius Racing win last week. He'd love to be able to make it back-to-back wins for that team.
Yeah, wouldn't that be phenomenal for those guys as well, Seth? That'd just be a huge boon to their prospects in terms of the season. But the other guy I'm really looking at, and you mentioned him earlier in the piece, Christopher Lawrence. He's not had an overall phenomenal season thus far. He's been involved in a few bits and pieces. It's not really gone his own way. Have a look at where he sits now. He's attached himself to those JKR Motorsports guys, and he's just sitting there. Right now, he's starting to get a little bit antsy. Patience, buddy, patience. You've got 4 cars ahead of you who are communicating. You've got to hook up with that 24 car. You've got to work together with that guy. Then you might be able to assail them all together.
Yeah, that's his teammate Chris Woodard, both of them Rebel Racing Chevrolets. Got to go quite a ways back before you find their next teammate. That'd be Kyle Gartner, mired back in the 16th position. Ooh, there's a car stepping way out of line back there. That was a 61 of Anthony Zirkle. I don't know if something happened back there and everyone was trying to avoid maybe a car getting in the wall, but things got very spaced out around the 12th, 13th position.
Similar to a super speedway, you can't afford to get any sort of damage to your car here. You can't afford to brush the walls. Close shaves with the wall are really, really bad, because that tells you that in a couple laps time you're going to be back up there and you're probably going to be putting it in the fence. So ultimately that means you've got to settle it a long, long way back down. Think about it in terms of a super speedway. The only time that you really care about the aero performance of your car is maximum straight line speed, the ability to draft, the ability to work with other people. Here, that's also going to impact tires, which is going to have a bigger impact on your overall pace. But have a look at Lawrence. Lawrence wants to get busy.
And oh man, I thought might be going potentially for a slide job there, but no, he only drifted up maybe about a half groove higher than where he entered into the corner. His teammate's going to move down there with him, but you just see how they lose that momentum off the corner. That straightaway speed definitely goes to the top.
I think a lot of these other guys have actually got to get down here and start working with them. And the reason for that is they need to break up the JKR Motorsports. When they look at their overall standings, they'll see 96, 99, 97, 95, 99999, all the way through. That means they've got to step out of line. They've got to find other ways to work with people. Ultimately, I think JKR Motorsports are going to do themselves a disservice towards the tail end of the season with all the success that they're having. They're going to garner enemies. People love an underdog story, don't they, Seth?
They definitely do, and I'll tell you what, I mean, obviously still early in the season. Tonight is actually the halfway point of the regular season here for these guys, but if you look at the current standings coming into this one, all 5 of the JKR Motorsports cars that we see each and every week are all up inside of the top 10. Your Daytona winner, Brock Silvati, the furthest down in that 10th position.
Yeah, Savati's had the pole. He's struggling a little bit in terms of tires. Again, I wonder whether or not this wasn't actually a strategy from Savati. Just sit back, conserve some tires, really look after everyone, and make sure that he's playing himself the long game. The other thing that we need to be aware of here is, yeah, you've got 4 cars from JKL Motorsports that are heading this thing off. They're running off, trying to, not really getting away from anyone. They're trying to run off into the distance. Somebody from that team always needs to throw the curveball strategy out there. Ultimately, I'd love to see Silvati throw the aggressive strategy, throw the tire abuse strategy at these cars, really get up there, punch the hole in the air, get out there nice and strong very early on, then come to pit road, come down, grab those tires, and be faster than everyone else, grab that track position. Ultimately, the best way to work as a team is to not be anywhere near each other on the track.
Thought TJ Roberts was working his way towards the top 5 on the outside line. Now he gets pinned down to the inside line. It's going to drop outside of the top 10. That's Woodard, Kyle Gartner, or actually, correction, that's Jeremy Richmond rather than 98, and Dakota Knoll trying to go around the top side of the 11 machine. It's almost looking like, much like at a super speedway, you want to make sure you're not going to get left out to dry. Here at Michigan, it seems like you get left out to dry in that inside line. Everybody fighting for the top.
Well, see, the thing is, at this point in time, we're now, what are we, 17 laps into this run. So the tires have now worn, the condition, the integrity of those tires, you cannot get all the way down to the bottom line. We're in sort of this phase of the race where overtaking is extremely difficult. You've got to get a better run than somebody else, which basically means that they have to have made a huge sort of mistake. Even coming down to that second groove, I'd be sticking up in the third groove. You're going to get an initial run just from being quicker on the corner, but the instant that you get to their inside, if you don't have any support whatsoever, you're just going to lose positions. Watch Aaron Brown, that's exactly what's happening to him.
Yeah, he ended up actually almost getting into the left rear quarter panel of Matthew Fleming off of turn 4. Had to make an evasive move to the inside to avoid any contact between the two. And as you've mentioned, he is paying the price for it now, dropping back at least to the 9th position and maybe a couple more spots with Knoll to the outside. You've got 11 cars up in this lead pack. Then you got to go over 2 seconds back to a trio of cars with Mcquaid, Zirkle, and Kyle Gartner. That's another second and a half back to the third group led by Noah Owens. Much like at a super speedway again, not very likely that you're going to be able to catch up to this lead pack without the aid of a caution. So should those guys outside the top 10 be worried right now?
Not right now. Not right now. Maybe 40 laps from now, yes, they should be worried. Even maybe 20 laps from now as we get to that halfway point. Because once they settle down a fair bit, they're going to be okay. However, the benefit of being that far back is that those guys know that they need to work together to catch this pack. They're not fighting. But if you keep your eyes on this lead pack starts to spaghetti, it's just sort of string itself out a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. I've had my eyes on Chris Lawrence the last few laps. He was up there and he was actually fighting to get by Brock Salvati. It didn't work. He fell away to the low line. What that meant was that he dropped a whole bunch of spots and he's had to fight back through for those. All of that plays into the factor and the favor of that second group that's that couple seconds back.
Keep an eye on the 24 of Christopher Woodard. We know he is not afraid to go up there against the outside wall. That's part and parcel of what got him the win a few weeks ago at Atlanta, because he ran the top side and was able to get around the then race leader to pick up that victory. And look at him there, high, wide, and handsome. Oh, a little too high that time. Made a little bit of a friend with that outside retaining wall.
Actually a little bit worried. I'm seeing the rear end of Christopher Woodard's car. It's actually got a fair bit of damage, so he's going to be losing downforce and over air pocket. It's not going to be huge. It's the rear end of the car that doesn't impact anything, but it is going to be enough, and I'm wondering whether or not he may just utilize that fast repair here. We've been clean for so long. That aero package is so important, but once you take it, any further contact, you're stuck with that. There's nothing you can do. Oh, he's made contact again!
That was with, I believe, Matthew Fleming, no, Jeremy Richmond, and now gets a shot from behind here, riding on board with Dakota Knoll in the 10.
Well, that was all down to Richmond. Richmond was on his inside, but just didn't allow him space on the high side. That's you got to be more cautious than that. I think Richmond's made a big mistake there, and this is also, remember, JKR Motorsport car causing something. That, again, looking for playoffs at the back end of the season, drama in the water.
Guy that hurt the most was last week's winner, Cam Caldwell. We saw him dart down to the inside, and he's dropped to the tail end of this pack, but still in this lead group. Ooh, things tight there. Dakota Knoll and TJ Roberts as Aaron Brown gets the wall. Roberts spins down to the inside. Knoll's down below the white line. Everybody at least keeps it pointed the right direction, but 3 cars in trouble there off of turn 2.
Woodard is a big risk of losing the draft right now. He needs the 9, the 4, and the 98 to be fighting like crazy. Couple cars blinking out over here on my screen. These guys have now sort of split into 2 mini packs. Again, work together. Don't fight, don't fight, don't fight. Unless you know you can get that pass done, then you're going to want that car behind to push you. That's about the only way that they can get back up to this lead pack right now.
A lot of damage there on, look, especially the right front, but also the left front of the 11 of TJ Roberts, and he is dropping like a rock through the field, now to 15th, now to 16th. That second pack just eating him up, as up at the front, 6 cars now in this lead draft. Chris Woodard, as you mentioned, losing touch with them in 7th. Knoll and Caldwell, the teammates, in 8th and 9th place, and Aaron Brown, who I think got a pretty good hit with the right side of his machine as well off of turn 2. He's dropped back as well into that 10th position. He might be a couple of laps away from being eaten up by that second group as well. There you see them, about maybe a quarter of a straightaway behind him.
And the 77 and Patrick Mcquaid, this is a big opportunity for him because he's going to get draft support for a couple laps from Aaron Brown. If he can slingshot off of Aaron Brown, he might be okay. That whole pack may be okay. But you're also going to remember this.
Somebody in trouble behind. That is, I believe, Noah Owens in the 88. He hangs on to it, but that car was facing the wrong direction towards the inside retaining wall off of turn 2.
Oh, man. So it's gotten tight, it's gotten tight, it's gotten tight. Now it's starting to get loose. These guys are going to be very careful with their throttle management at this point in time. Big shot to the outside wall for the 88. So that's all tightness. And remember what I said at the top of the broadcast as well. That is a car that is leaning very, very heavily on its right front. And that is a driver that has not managed that right front in the way that he needs to.
There's some really tight racing back here. This is outside the top 15, but every position matters, especially in a long green flag run.
Oh, come on the fence! It's a 77!
Also saw, I think it was Zirkle in the wall.
Tom Bourne!
Oh, back up into traffic. Got hit by somebody, I'm not sure who. 61 of Zirkle, I think, was one of the cars in the wall. Might have been right around Patrick Mcquaid at the time. Wade was running in the 12th position for his problems there on the back straightaway.
That was a huge impact. I'm just trying to figure out what's happened. It looks like McQuaid's gotten the fence, just gotten really, really tight on the middle of the corner, just pushed all the way up into the fence. Tom Bourne's just trying to save it the whole time. Tires sliding, brakes locked up, nothing he could have done. That's unfortunate for Zach Woods. He can't get lucky at all, can he, Zach Woods?
Not at all, and boy, you just saw there with Patrick Mcquaid, that car started drifting up the track, and it just never turned back to the left. I mean, he was along for the ride at that point in time, and that would have been the fact of that tire heat buildup in that right front, just not allowing that car to go anywhere but straight up into the fence.
And the other car that got caught up in that's Josh Billett. Again, another disappointing performance from him. It's a really good opportunity here for a lot of these cars to reset, and given how tight that a lot of these cars were starting to get, I have a feeling that a lot of these guys weren't actually coming to pit lane just purely based upon the fact that they were expecting a caution to be not too far away, you know? So, look, I mean, everyone's made that decision, they've made that opportunity, that call to not come in thus far, when I definitely feel like there was an opportunity about the lap 20 mark to come in. So, look, it was really, really close. And I think eventually they've made the right call. Whether or not it is the right call over the long term, well, for some of these guys, you'll have a look at Noah Owens, number 1, Patrick Mcquaid, number 2. I think they maybe should have taken the option to come down pit road.
Owens going to stay out and lead a lap, it looks like, here, as the battle off pit road, handily won by DJ Daniel. Another driver that got a little piece of that incident when Tom Bourne was coming back up the track was his teammate Mike Tellier. Got clipped in that left rear quarter panel, and fortunately all that runoff down there on the back straightaway was able to gather thing back up before hitting the inside wall, but did get a little bit of contact there into that left rear quarter panel, so tallied up to about 6 drivers involved in that incident off of turn 2 and onto the back straightaway.
Yeah, again, it's everyone's holding their brakes, everyone's trying to dodge things. It's just, you know, it's racing. Sometimes the cars have just bounced off each other and back up into traffic, and that means that everyone else in behind them needs to then back all their pace way, way, way down as well. So unfortunate. Remember what I said, though, earlier at the top of the show? Tom Bourne, not the qualifying effort he wanted. He was going to sit back there. He was going to be patient. He was going to use his head. Well, hasn't played out his favor.
Big break for some drivers that may not have necessarily been involved in anything, but may have brushed the wall a couple of times. I've noticed Dakota Knoll, TJ Roberts, and Chris Woodard, who all had their right sides up in that safer area at some point during this run. They spent a little bit of extra time on pit lane, making sure that they don't use up the one faster pair available to these drivers. We do have 4 drivers, however, that did use their faster pairs at this point in time. Most of them pretty much caught up in that incident on the back straightaway. Tom Bourne, Patrick Mcquaid, Josh Billiter, and Zachary Woods now no longer have the mulligan available to them, as we are now closing in towards the halfway point in the next 10 laps or so.
Yeah, so really closing in on an important phase of this race as well. And like you mentioned, I think that's actually a smart call from Chris Woodard. I think he's going to fight his way back through again, Be interesting to see how aggressive he's actually going to be. Noah Owens hasn't come down pit road at this point in time, so this is a guy that's on very, very old tires. So I would be expecting potentially another caution. The field have got to be very patient with how they navigate him, because he's still going to have pace. The issue for everyone around him is that they've got to respect that on the corners, he's going to be extremely tight and drift up the track, and they've got to be aware that that will happen.
I'm not as much nervous for the drivers on fresh tires trying to make their way around Noah Owens. I'm more so nervous for Noah trying to figure out where is he going to be able to go to get out of everybody's way, because I know this track is spacious, but with this restart, everybody's going to try and find an available hole to be able to make a pass on somebody, take advantage of while they're all close together.
Well, I mean, the way that it works is Noah's just going to drive his groove. Everyone else has got fresher tires. In terms of shipping, it's always the smaller, lighter, more maneuverable vessel that tries to make their way around the larger vessels. You can't ask a larger vessel to get out of the way. That's just incorrect. I think the same applies here. The more maneuverable vessels are all around him, and he's just got to let them do. Oh, look at the tire spin!
Man, no rear grip in those Goodyears, as you
That's
saw him
not
almost
smart.
into a slide, and that stacks everybody up on that inside line.
I don't think this is a smart call, trying to get to his inside. This pushes him a long way out the track. That causes a caution right there. If I was in the 99, I'd do it. If I was in the 4, I would have been looking to the outside of him.
Jay Daniel to the point. Christopher Lawrence follows to second. Kerr Fan Richmond and Fleming at the top 5 on the back straightaway. Contact into Brown. They all keep it together, but nearly had our second caution right there midway down the backstretch.
And again, guys have got to be understanding that he's underpowered. He is really, really struggling. Look, I think Owen Owens, I was watching it back, he just missed pit lane. That's all it was.
Costly mistake there for the 88, who free falls now outside of the top 10. Things getting rather spaced out. Whoa, really high there into 1 and 2. Everybody going to take advantage now. We'll move on by, and this will drop Owens outside of the top 20. He just lost 6, 7, 8 spots in the span of 2 corners, as up at the front, Lawrence looks to put the pressure on DJ Daniel for the top spot.
And this is an important phase of this motor race as well. Lawrence needs to pressure the JKR guys whilst they're all sort of split up. Look at the difference back to the 98 car. Right now, it's 1v2. This is the best odds that he's had this entire race so far. He needs to make hay whilst the sun shines. And as the lead car in that pack that's behind the draft, he's got the strongest seat in the house as well.
They ran 26, 27 laps there before that first caution came out. With 50 laps to go, safe to say that if they are short on fuel, it's just one more stop from here to the checkered flag. Going to be interesting to see, if we remain under the green flag, how those green flag pit stops would be played out, because I would certainly think that the undercut would be very valuable in terms of what we've seen of lap times 10, 15 laps in, as opposed to the first or second lap on the Goodyears.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Seth, but it's about when you go for the undercut. How much do you come early? Because you've also got to remember that you're going to be on ailing tires towards the tail end of the race. If anything should happen and you collect that wall, you've got to deal with that. There's no mulligan. Like you said, for a lot of these drivers, they've already come down and handled their fast repair. For some of these guys, they've still got that. You don't get the opportunity. I think Lawrence here, he's actually not being aggressive on DJ Daniels. He's allowing him to do whatever he really wants to. He's just sitting there. He's letting it happen. Actually, I said that. Well, here comes the aggression.
Watching back here, this pack, a few cars got the wall. They're off of turn 2, and it was almost like watching sheep. One does one thing and the others follow. Anthony Zirkle got the wall, Christopher Woodard got the wall, and Wesley Jeanette got the wall, all running nose to tail. Everybody was able to give them enough room to gather it back up, but again, remember, we saw 24 of Woodard get into the wall in the last run, spent about a minute, a little over a minute on pit road getting that right side damage repaired. Now he's going to have some more damage to deal with here for this run.
Yeah, so Woodard's got a lot of issues right now. Again, he's targeting the back end of this race. He's keeping his head in the game. What do I need to do? How do I still score a bunch of points? DJ Daniels is up at the 4. I've got to lose 6 points, less than 6 points, to maintain the championship lead. That's what he's thinking, right? And it's championship mindset, and that kicks in very, very early on, because you need to point your way into the playoffs, but you also want to give yourself the best opportunity when you get there. This one's probably going to go to DJ Daniels. Let that happen. Where can you finish to make sure that he doesn't win the war?
No, Matthew Fleming there, running in the 5th position, trying to hold off Daytona winner in today's pole sitter Brock Silvati. Fleming comes into this race only 26 points outside of the top 16. Solid outing for him here tonight as he's trying to make his way up potentially into the playoff grid.
Yeah, so again, another driver, championship focus, strong night out in terms of the points. I mean, there's a lot of drivers here that are outperforming definitely where I thought they would have been tonight. It's really, really strong to see. That speaks, again, health in the league. That's exactly what I wanted to see.
A good battle back here for the 11th position. That's where you actually, correction, that's actually 10th place. Josh Billiter, Gene Cato, Anthony Zirkle in this group. Bright red 22 of Mike Sipanovsky. You've also got the 24 of Chris Woodard in this mix. Muffler man Patrick Mcquaid. There's Aaron Brown in the 95, also mired back here in this traffic, trying to make his way back up to the front.
Yeah, gotta be careful here though, guys. Make sure that you're working together. Keep your eyes on those JKR Motorsports guys. Remember, Kerfan threw an attempted overtake down under Christopher Lawrence early on in this run, and it didn't work out for him. So he's very, very aware of that, and that also puts him a long way out in terms of tires. He's heated those things up. He went down there, and Lawrence didn't have to make that move. Lawrence was nowhere near aggressive, and I still think that Lawrence is just using his head and being patient. I think he's saving a little bit of fuel, saving a little bit of tire. I think he, again, understands that he is going to be stronger on these long runs. He's got a phenomenal exit here. He may actually just go for it.
Right up to the back bumper of DJ Daniel, about maybe half a car length between the two.
Yeah, he's saving.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to take a peek there, just kind of maintaining that gap between himself and the 96, and this is smart, because who knows, DJ Daniel might use up his stuff trying to keep the 9 in his rearview mirror. Longer into this run, it may be advantage to the second place running Lawrence.
Well, maybe. And the other thing that really plays itself into consideration here is that Christopher Lawrence...
Caution! Mike Sibanovsky has had trouble, and Gene Cato's collected up as well on the back straightaway.
And that's just tightness.
Just outside the top 10.
Tightness in. He gets tight, then he gets loose, then he gets tight again as the arrow sort of changes itself coming off of turn 1 and 2. It clouts the wall, just bounces down, grabs a couple cars. It looks like it's just him and Gene Cato. Everybody else is just fanning out to dodge everything. So that's at least a good result for the entire field.
I think Kyle Gartner might have gotten a piece of that as well. Third in points, and of course was in the Final Four for the championship last season as well. And we saw this group here just outside the top 10. This would have been around 12-13 where this contact ensued.
I got bad news for you, Seth. Our main man
more.
from last week, he's
Yep.
done. He's done. Zachary Woods is all torn up, and that's all she wrote, brother.
I also saw Aaron Brown and David Modespaw there getting collected up on the top side of the back straightaway.
Disappointing, but that's also what you get. I mean, so there's two sides to every argument, and this is the negative side that we actually haven't covered. Is that when accidents happen, you want them behind you because then you can't just run through into them. And with the super speedway-esque conditions, remember it's not a full-on super speedway, you will have to lift out of the throttle throughout the longer runs just to save those tires. There's a lot of guys here that are just going to find those wrecks in front of them and approaching 180 mile an hour, and at that speed there's nothing you can do.
Also add Mike Tellier into the mix of drivers that got a piece of it. He made a little contact with the front end of his machine into David Modespaw, so what was looking like a 2-car incident, all of a sudden we're up to about 6 or 7 drivers that get bits and pieces of this, and what a tough break there for Zachary Woods. I mean, the Pocono miracle of last week when he fell 7 laps down early, got enough cautions and enough lucky dogs to work his way back onto the lead lap, and then was able to get himself a top 10 finish. Finished that race in the 7th position, and because of that, Zachary Woods actually came into this race 5th in the point standings. He's the only Toyota driver inside of the top 13, surrounded by a slew of Chevrolets.
Yeah, unfortunate for Zachary Woods. Again, remember, like we said, he's had an okay season. Patience has definitely been his biggest virtue. He's been willing to let cars go. He's made sure that he's given himself an opportunity to really perfect where he's going to finish at the tail end of the season. Ultimately for Zach, I see championship hopes, and I see potentially a playoff standing for him, but he's just going to make sure that he continues to look after his stuff tonight. He's just a victim of bad luck twice, and that happens some weeks.
Well, he's still on the lead lap here, as are 25 other drivers. Clifford Corbeau appears to have lost a lap at some point here in 26. And Noah Owens is just now leaving pit lane, or actually, correction, no, he's still sitting in his pit stall. We saw that he had that, well, I'll put it in air quotes strategy. He ended up missing pit lane under the last caution, but he ended up staying out under the last yellow. He's now 3 laps down, getting some damage repaired on his 88. I'm not certain what was going on there with the one of David Monspa and the 74 of Wesley Jeanette, because Jeanette, he stayed out, appeared like he was going to come down pit lane, but instead he actually just dropped himself to the rear of the field, and David Monspa was going around the field, and now he's dropping towards the back. Both of those drivers still on the lead lap, so not sure what was going on there, but nonetheless, DJ Daniel's going to re-inherit the lead. He'll take the top side with Lawrence to his inside in second. Jeremy Richmond, Alexander Kerfan, and Tom Bourne now going to be the top 5. To the top 10 is going to be Matthew Fleming, Brock Salvati, Bronson Stafford, Anthony Zirkle, and Cam Caldwell. Bronson Stafford started this race back from the 25th position. Tom Bourne back from 24th, and Tom Bourne, as we already documented, already a faster pair in on this this race. And actually, I just realized Jeremy Richmond, I believe, actually took a faster pair under this last caution.
Yeah, so Richmond, that's an odd one. I think that's just a mistake from him. Remember, DJ Daniels here on this restart has actually opted to take the top side, so that's a driver selection. And Lawrence will try and feed himself back in there. He hasn't been able to grab the draft, and now all of a sudden Richmond's going to file past him on the outside, I believe.
We're halfway home here at Michigan, as DJ Daniel has been the car to beat. He's been out there in the benefit of clean air pretty much the entirety of this race. JKR go to work on the top side against Lawrence. That's Kerfan offering the push, offering the draft down the back straightaway. Move Richmond to second, Kerfan to third. 1, 2, 3 for the JKR boys.
This is where, again, Lawrence is just going to find a teammate, find someone to work with. He's got Bourne there. He's going to be able to do it over the long run. And ultimately, the restart phase and the way that DJ Daniels opted to take that restart, especially on the high side, he knew exactly what he was doing. The number 9 car needed somebody on his rear bumper to shove himself forward, or else he was going to get hung out to dry. And he only had JKR Motorsport cars around him.
Top 7 have about 4 or 5 car lengths back to 8th place running Anthony Zirkle. He's under fire from Christopher Woodard for that 8th spot. Bronson Stafford a little wide there off of turn 2. Going to lose touch with these guys and falls back into the clutches of Cam Caldwell. That's the battle for 10th.
Oh, that's disappointing. I mean, he's got to settle himself back down. Make sure that he's reattached to these guys. Just breathe. Patience, patience, patience. That's what it's going to be all about tonight. Remember what I said right at the top of the show? Leaning very heavily on that front right-hand tire. I think we're still a caution away from getting to the end of the race here. I don't think we're going to see that green flag stop, which is disappointing. I'd really love to see who comes to pit road early.
It looks like for around the 5th position. That was Brock Salvati taking a peek on Tom Bourne. Zirkle getting a little loose there off of 2. Opens up the door for Woodard. And now Lawrence pulls alongside of Salvati, who looked like he might have been trying to pinch the 9 car down there, not allowing him to be able to get the power down and try to keep it to the corner. And they're going to make some contact through the center of 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think that's just the aero factor being pulled away from that front right-hand corner of Christopher Lawrence's car. You get too close, you interrupt that pocket of air, that's what's going to happen. That's not necessarily on Lawrence. It may be a mistake. He may have overdriven the corner, but I have a fair idea that that's more of the air pocket situation that's going on around those cars.
You know, it's interesting to see some of these guys up here at the front of the field, like Christopher Lawrence and Brock Salvati, because the two things that they have in common is they both have a victory in their BackFire career at Daytona. Now, that's a super speedway, and this is, in many facets, it does in some ways kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. It's like running on a super speedway. Does that play into the advantage of those two drivers?
Yes and no. They know the strategy. They know where they need to position themselves, but ultimately now with the layout of Michigan and the way that it works, it's actually a lot more about execution. It's not about building a run, timing your run, those sorts of things. It's a lot.
Oh, man,
Woodard!
24th Woodard. Man, he was loose on the bottom there in 1 and 2.
He got tied, actually. He got tied. He come up, he made contact with Silvati, and that got him loose. It unsettled the right-hand side of the car, which immediately wanted to rotate, and the left was still gripped up. So that's a lot of heat that we added to both of those cars. Silvati struggling. Qualifying was good. Running out in his own, not so in a pack.
Drop back now outside of the top 10. That was a heck of a save as he drove it really deep there into turn 1. Made it 3 wide with Brock Silvati and Christopher Lawrence, and fortunately, despite that contact, everybody keeps the fenders on him. Ooh, Dakota Knoll a little wide there. And that's Patrick Mcquaid that I think might have gotten the wall off of too.
And remember, McQuaid's already used his fast repair too. He was involved in the first caution of the night. It was a big, big hit. He's fought his way back through really, really well. I'm actually impressed with McQuaid and what the performance he's put in over the last couple of weeks. Now he's just overdriving the car a little bit. Back it down, son. Look after it. You haven't got that fast repair as a buffer.
Yeah, we're seeing these guys really pushing it here on this run, and I just want to kind of go back to something that I was told by a bunch of guys that ran in a weekly Super Speedway series. Get your take on this because, you know, as mentioned, this does have some facets of Super Speedway racing, and I asked them one time, I said, you know, why are you racing so aggressively when you know that there's potentially one more trip to pit road you're going to have to make? And they say, well, what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up on the racetrack for the position we want to be in when we come to pit road. Is that why we're seeing the aggressive racing we are right now?
Yeah, it's definitely part of it. However, in a super speedway sense, you're setting yourself up for the position you want to be in on the road, but you've still got to not really look after your tires. All you're doing is looking after your fuel tank and your fuel capacity at that stage. For a lot of these guys, the reason that I'm preaching and continuing to preach patience, yeah, pick off your spots, but do it slowly. You only want to pick them off when there's an opening there and you're not going to burn off your tires. Because if you get that little bit too aggressive, then all of a sudden you overheat those tires, you're struggling for it, you can effectively throw that place away and probably a couple more. Patience, patience, patience. Look, I mean, ultimately, I'm never the fastest guy in terms of a short run speed. I'm thereabouts, but I'm not the fastest guys. Where I really tend to excel is on that tire save strategy. And there are so many tracks within the iRacing service whereby a lot of the speed is caused by being able to look after your tires in the correct way. So you need to learn how to do that. You need to learn how to drive a tight car. You need to learn how to drive a loose car. If you just come in here and you can only drive one sort of style, you're always going to suffer.
The wounded machine of Zachary Woods just up ahead of the race leaders, limping that car around the 25th position, still on the lead lap. As you can see, about half a straightaway from being put a lap down, courtesy of race leader DJ Daniel. Want to thank all of the sponsors here tonight for the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series, including Hupka Real Estate. Like them on Facebook at Erica Hupka Realtor. Blackgate Security, follow them on Facebook as well. JKR Motorsports, check them out on Facebook and Instagram. Auto Ventures LLC, based in Hudsonville, Michigan. Premier used car, truck, and SUV dealer with the cleanest selection and lowest prices. Visit them at avcarsales.com to learn more. And J Junior's Mobile Detailing, based in Marion, North Carolina, as the caution is out third time today here at Michigan.
This should be enough to get home. I've just had a quick look back down the pack. It's Wesley Jeanette, and I think that's the second caution he's been caught up with so far tonight.
And the 24 of Christopher Woodard, our Atlanta winner, has been caught up in it.
Oh, no, it's actually ahead of Jeanette. Yeah, it is. It's Woodard and Aaron Brown. That is curious. Here's two guys that have been quick all the way through the season, and these guys are struggling. That's how you know that the difficulty factor has gone up a fair way.
It's two former winners from this season, and bear in mind of where they got their wins at. Atlanta for Woodard and Nashville Super Speedway for Aaron Brown. Two tracks that have very worn track surfaces.
Has Woodard burned his fast repair?
He still has his fast repair, according to what I've
Oh,
got
that
here.
is so lucky. He made a bit of a shot into the inside fence. 61 made a huge shot into the fence. Both cars on the front end of their cars, so they're both going to need to burn their fast repairs. So if Zirkle hasn't got one, he's going to be massively down on power. Zachary Woods was just about coming up to be lapped. He's now going to get all of that back, but he just doesn't have the machine left underneath him to compete anymore, unfortunately. So I'm also looking at Gene Cato's all kinds of banged up, messed up. So look, there's a lot of cars now towards the tail end of this field. They're going to struggle for the remainder of the race. I'm just seeing a lot of guys just overdrive the entry to 1 and 2. And it's not about the entry. That then carries on all the way through the corner. You're trying to overforce the tire heats up, heats up, heats up, heats up, heats up. Finally just says, hey, I've had enough of this, and just slides across the track and into the outside fence. And it's on that corner exit. When you're trying to get back to the throttle, that's where a lot of the guys are making mistakes here tonight.
Also, Patrick Mcquaid in the 77 was caught up in that, and he had already burned his faster pairs, so not sure just how much damage he got out of that. And the car we're going to go on board with, you pinned it correctly there, Scott. Wesley Jeanette did get a piece of it there. Late hit with the 61 of Anthony Zirkle as he made some contact with the left front of his machine.
Yeah, disappointing again. Nothing really could have done. Zirkle's just bouncing all over the track, and it's just, again, like I said, you're arriving on the scene at such a rate of knots that ultimately a lot of the time there's nothing you can do, and this is another one of those.
Third caution of the day coming out here at Michigan. Mike Tellier, who's done a great job of avoiding a couple of incidents here today, is actually going to stay out and lead a lap. The thing is, for me, you know, when we had Noah Owens out in front, I thought that maybe he was going to stay out, lead a lap, and then come to pit road. He didn't. He missed pit road. I saw the 74 of Wesley Jeanette stay out under the second caution. I thought, well, maybe he might be planning on leading us to green. Nope, instead he dropped to the back of the pack and actually didn't make a pit stop. I don't know what Mike Tellier's going to do here in this situation. Looks like he's indicating he's coming to pit road this time.
Yeah, maybe just wants that bonus point, just grab a lap lead. I mean, that's an important factor for a lot of these guys when you consider the season at large. They're playing themselves into playoff contention. They're trying to do everything that they possibly can to you know, make sure that they've got an opportunity at the tail end of the season. It's a smart decision. It's not easy. You're basically committing yourself to being in a rough spot for the remainder of the race. There's nothing you can do about that, you know. So look, I mean, he's made the call. He's clearly said, hey, my playoff contention is far more valuable to me than this one race overall, and all power to him.
Let's find out if this decision is smart. Jeremy Richmond won the battle off of pit road, so he'll be leading us back to green. Bronson Stafford's up to second, with Alexander Kerfan and now GJ Daniel back to fourth place. So he lost 3 spots there on pit road. Now Richmond and Kerfan, they beat him off pit road legitimately. Bronson Stafford went with a 2-tire strategy on that 16 car.
No, surely, no. There's 28 laps to the end. You're gonna get absolutely murdered. That's... He's hoping for a quick caution. That's all he's hoping for. He hasn't been in contention. He's been mired back in traffic. This is a difficult call. I don't think it's the right one. In my head, there's too much to play out. If he doesn't get a caution in say under 5 laps, he's just thrown his race away for nothing. Like, I don't know what to say, Seth. I really don't.
Well, if he can get out in front with the clean air to the nose, give him the advantage there.
No, because he's gonna be pushing the air for everybody else, and when they get back to green and when they really start to stop back on the power, that draft is gonna be so much more impactful. So again, it's the wrong call. I'm disappointed.
Jeremy Richmond, though, he's going to be the one that benefits from a very fast pit stop. He pulls away from the battle for second place. Jeremy Richmond, another guy that is searching for his first win of his BackFire racing career here, and he's going to have to hold off a big run that gets stacked up there. Look at Tom Bourne down to the white line, looking 3 wide for second, maybe 3 wide for the lead when they get into 3.
Yeah, he's a long way forward there as Bourne. He's going for it. I'm wondering whether or not Jeremy Richmond, something's happened to him. I don't think he's necessarily taken 4 tires, because look at the grip Bourne had.
He didn't take tires. He spent an awfully long time on pit road. He spent as long on pit road as all the drivers that did put on 4 fresh tires, so I have to follow up on that one. Here comes Kerfan, though. He wants the top position against Bourne off of 2.
Yeah, they're going to fight. They're going to scrap for it all day long. Remember, DJ Daniels has led just about every lap of this race prior to now, and he's had the clean air. That is so important. The reason you're seeing these guys scrap over it and go so hard for it is because they want that clean air on the nose. They really want to lead the laps. This is an opportunity. It was something that I hadn't mentioned, and I meant to under that last caution. But Daniels, this is the first time we've really seen him way back in traffic. Have a look at the JKR guys start to work together, though, now.
On board with Christopher Lawrence, you can see everybody taking an entirely different lane to the corner, trying to get the clean air to the nose, allow the car to be able to turn through the center. That's Dakota Knoll just up ahead. Look at the movement out of these cars off of turn 2, yanking the wheel to the left to try and get it pointing the right direction down the backstretch.
Yeah, they got to be careful. Make sure they don't overwork those tires as well. That's an important factor in all of this, is they've got to look after their cars at the end of the day. They've got to make sure that they're capable of making the end of the race. Make sure that even though you want to be racy, that you're still going to not throw away a certain strong finish.
An update of cars towards the rear of the field after the last caution. Clifford Corbeau got the lucky dog. He's back on the lead lap. Noah Owen still trapped 2 laps down, 26th, and Patrick Mcquaid, who, as we mentioned, involved in that last incident and had already burned his faster pair after being involved in the second caution of the day, still sits on pit road, 6 laps down, continuing repairs. Looks like unless something happens here in the last 25 laps, he will be finishing 27th here tonight.
Even then, like, I strongly expect him to finish 27th, because he's got to get back out there and he's going to turn enough laps to overcome the next car behind him. So that is pretty much a guaranteed finish where he is. So unfortunate for McQuaid. McQuaid's actually had a really, again, another one of these drivers that hasn't had any standout races, but he hasn't had a bad race either up until now, which is disappointing for him. So he'll pick things back up and he'll run again next week, and fingers crossed it'll all work out for him.
Look at Tom Bourne trying to get his left front to the right rear of Alexander Curveman, trying to get the side draft and the run down the back straightaway. He's alongside contact. 22 of Sipanovsky, hard to the wall in the back straightaway. Caution's out.
The lead. Who got the lead there? I think Bourne's got it.
22 of Sipanovsky down to the inside wall. Caution will fly after he took a shot. Looks like, according to scoring, the 54 of Tom Bourne's going to be the one to lead us back to the caution.
It depends, right? It really depends, because they were neck and neck. There was nothing in that. Unfortunately, it looks like the 3 of Joshua Billiter, he just hasn't recognized the check up of Sivanovsky, and Sivanovsky's just been turned a little bit by him. But that'll be Sivanovsky's night done as well.
I'll tell you who caught a break here with this yellow flag, and that was Mike Tellier, because he, just before that caution came out, made an unscheduled trip to pit road, lost a lap. He's going to be the recipient of the lucky dog here.
Yeah, he actually, I just saw something that come out in the chat as well. He's actually gotten a black flag for entering in a closed pit. Remember how he led that extra lap, didn't come to pit road, just so he got that lap led? Yeah, entered a closed pits to try and get his service done. So look, I mean, that is the downside of what he did. He's gotten extremely lucky to get back on the lead lap. And the other guy who I think is in a potentially strong position here is... you got to look at that 16 of Bronson Stafford. Yeah, look, he came down for 2 tires. Is everyone coming back down here? No, there are guys that are staying out. Look at Woodard. Woodard's going to stay out here. This is a really big brain play from Woodard.
This is going to be really interesting, too, because you're going to have many drivers at the front on older tires, some of them about 8-9 laps old. Other drivers behind them going to have potentially fresh rubber. We could end up seeing maybe some drivers go with some 2-tire strategy here as well to gain track position. I mean, there's going to be a whole varying difference of strategies up at the front here for a restart that's going to be with less than 20 laps to go.
Now, again, with 20 laps to the end here, remember what I said about Bronson Stafford? He rolled the dice. The rollers come up in his favor. I think he still gained out of it, although it's a very, very minor, gain at this point. So ultimately, he's come out on top, but just barely by the skin of his teeth. I assume he's automatically just going to take 4 tires, this time by, because if he took 2 on the last one, you're not going to do that again.
Front row, when we go back to green, is going to be Radius Racing. Of course, Cam Caldwell picked up that win last week at Poconos, so As mentioned, trying to double down here in back-to-back weeks. You've got Chris Woodard up at third. How about Brock Whitehead in that 83? I think this is maybe the first time we've mentioned him all night long. Was a big player in last week's race at Pocono, and now puts his face up into the top 5 here in the closing stages.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, Seth. I mean, he was there, and he was constantly there. Unfortunately, again, we were talking about it in the pre-show before we actually came on air, and I said to Seth, look, you make your own luck with where you position the car, how you drive the car, how you try and run your own race. So at the end of the day, if you get caught up in somebody else's incident, by and large, there's generally a moment that you can track back through the race where you overdrove the car, where you put yourself in a difficult position, and everything that happens, kind of like the butterfly effect, it's all sort of fanned out from there on back. Last week, one of the guys that most epitomized that exact statement was actually Brock Whitehead. He overdrove the car at a whole bunch of different phases right throughout the race, and he put the car on the fence. He ultimately just didn't have a very, very clean night. And at the end of the night, he only had one person to blame. You can say, yeah, look, he ran into other people throughout the night. He definitely had contact with other cars. Yeah, you're 100% correct. But the reason he had contact with those cars was because of the race scenario that he put himself in. He overdrove the car, which meant that he didn't have the grip available when he needed it. Now, tonight, he's driven a lot more quiet, a lot more contained, a lot more clean style of race, and this is exactly what I expect from him. He's got the potential to be a driver that's in this sort of a position with this sort of an outset, and he's got the potential to win races. I really think that Whitehead has given himself an opportunity here tonight, and I want to see him go for it.
Finished runner-up last week at Pocono, looking to finish one position better here tonight. That runner-up finish moved him up to 13th in points as well, so he's currently sitting in a playoff position. It's Dakota Knoll leading us back to green with Cam Caldwell in second, Woodard, Whitehead, and Kyle Gartner the top 5. Then the rest of the top 8, Modespa, Corvo, and Cato. They're the ones on old tires. 2 tires for Christopher Lawrence. He'll restart 9th. The fresh 4 tires are Tom Bourne on the outside of row 5 in the 10th position. Here we go. Going to be 19 laps to go here at Michigan.
Yeah, look at the check up and the stack up in the mid-pack. And how about keep your eyes peeled on those new tires, guys, as well. It's going to be JKR Motorsports once again versus Radius. That's so important to keep your eyes on. And Bourne's going to try and squeeze Curfan straight away.
Alexander Curfan, Tom Bourne know that the battle right now for the 9th position could, in a couple of laps, maybe be the battle for the race lead. As there's on board with Curfan looking ahead at the 2 tires of Lawrence. There's Gene Cato in the 2 on the old tires to the inside. Things pretty well organized up at the front, but then when you look towards the back, look at them, double wide, almost 3 wide in 2 separate portions of the field.
Yeah, really difficult for these guys. They've got to be careful now because those cars, remember what we were talking about with the 88 of Noah Owens earlier on in the piece, how he was compromised just because he was on older tires. Everyone has got to deal with that now. Everyone's got to make sure that they look after their stuff and they get themselves to the end.
Gene Cato was caught in the middle there with DJ Daniels swinging around the outside. Tom Bourne on the inside. Oh, got a car in the wall there off of 2. Not sure who that might have been. Maybe Modespa on the 1 might have been the one that brushed it.
It was somebody just in behind Motorsport on that outside lane, but Motorsport is really struggling up on that high lane right now. He's checking up a whole bunch of different cars. And have a look at the battle immediately behind Motorsport. Everyone's fighting for that little bit of track position to try and get past him. Whilst the guys on the older tires are just ahead of them, they're fighting as well. The 96 is going to jump back in behind the 9 of Christopher Lawrence. Keep your eyes on that 96 machine. He's trying to brew a plan. He's trying to brew a run. He sacrificed space. He sacrificed track position on that straight right there to try and build a run here. He's got to assault these guys now.
Trying to get to the back bumper, the 99 of Curfan. Now Curfan jumps to the top. Daniel jumps to the top. They're going to get around the 54 of Tom Bourne. Now it's Curfan that's going to go to work on the tires up ahead of him. Woodard way up the track after contacting himself. I think it was the 83 of Whitehead. Things really stacked up here at the front of the field as the battle for the lead is on. Curfan to the bottom. Knoll on the top towards the start-finish line.
And keep your eyes back in the pack as well. That 98 machine is coming. Tom Bourne's now the car that's going to jump to this top line. So he's going to jump a long way out of 6th. He's going all the way around the outside. These guys are going to get tight. Tom Bourne is in a risky maneuver right now.
You get a great run off the corner, but there's no guarantee the old tires underneath you aren't going to push you up into the outside wall. Tom Bourne trying to make it work.
Oh, look at
up
Daniels.
the middle, 3 wide with DJ Daniel and Dakota Knoll.
Daniels has come from a mile back. Daniels is, remember what I was saying? Contact. It's Caldwell and Whitehead.
Whitehead's around and they're still wrecking. Another car hard in the wall, Brock Silvati. Aaron Brown's collected up in it as well as the caution flies coming to 15 to go. Mike Telly or Anthony Zirkle involved. There's another car there, top of your screen. I think that might be TJ Roberts in the 11. Many cars torn up here.
That is a big one, because remember, they fired into the fence right in front of the pack, and then just sort of swung down across in front of it. Woodard's involved in that, Motorsport's involved in that, the 11 of TJ Roberts, Mike Tellier, the 61 again, so he'll be done. I think there's a lot of cars here that are involved in this that don't have fast repairs left over. Ultimately, the 83 of Whitehead, remember what I said? You gotta be careful. You gotta work your way through these guys, and he's created his own luck there by trying to be aggressive with the tire strategy. It hasn't worked out in his favor. And look, there's two ways to talk about it. The 9 and the 16 sent it a long way down there, and ultimately he's the innocent bystander. He's allowed a lot of space for all the cars underneath. It's the cars that are underneath him that have made the mistake. But he's out here on a two-tire strategy, on an older tire strategy, and when that happens, you've got to expect something like this, and unfortunately it's Cam Caldwell that's in the end gotten a little bit tight on the cars underneath him and caused that.
I think it was contact in the four-wide situation between Caldwell and Lawrence that then sent Caldwell up the track and into the 83 of Brock Whitehead. Nowhere for the 24 of Woodard to go, so body, Aaron Brown get pieces, and then as all this is going down, you've got that second group back there with Mike Tellier and Anthony Zirkle. They saw the incident up ahead, tried getting on the brakes, and the 47 just snapped loose and was completely out of control, and they came flying in and piled into the incident.
Yeah, there's ultimately, I'd have to have a look at what Tellier's looking at through his cockpit to be able to tell you, whether there was a shot or anything for him to get through that. But by and large, in that sort of a situation, cars are going to be coming off the fence down across the track. So generally, when I'm looking for a hole here, I'm looking towards the right-hand side of the track. Unfortunately, from Tellier's standpoint, he's got the 61 machine on his outside, so he can't go up the track. He's sort of pinched into where he's going to go. And as it all happens, everyone just sort of comes down the track. The track in front of him was actually dead blocked, and I think he actually got a shot from the 61, which sort of pile drived him into the wreck. Everyone was going for the same bit of track, same bit of opening that they were expecting to go up. So that's what happened back in there in the second wreck, effectively.
And here's the thing, too. I was noticing, we kind of lost sight of the 83 with our camera shot there coming off of turn 4, and so I was relying on watching our top left with our ticker to see if it would actually turn yellow with the caution coming out, and it seemed to take a little bit of time for that yellow flag to be thrown. That might have also been why the 47, the 61 weren't able to really slow down quite in time, because at that point in time they might have still been under the green flag.
I mean, they were, but they still saw it. Every single one of those cars was actually on the anchors, except for it was actually the 39. I actually thought it might have been the 61 that got into the rear end of Mike Teller and sort of punched him into that accident. It wasn't. It was actually a car behind him. Now, in the instance of Ron Gartner, I don't think he could see it. It might have been difficult for him to have seen it, but again, and this is something I preach every week as well, the faster that you're traveling, the further you have to keep your eyes down the track. You cannot be looking at the guy that's ahead of you. You need to be looking 2 or 3 cars ahead of you. In actual fact, I'm generally trying to look 4 to 5 cars down the track. Why? Because anything less than that, I'm hitting them before I can react to whatever's happening to those guys. The other reason that you want to keep your eyes up there is humans react very, very strongly to things that they see in their peripheral vision. Your reactions are quicker to what you see in your peripheral vision than to what you see in your main vision. So by creating a situation whereby the cars around you need to react quicker, you put them in your peripheral vision, you're more likely to react quicker and be able to do something, whilst also allowing your brain to focus on what's ahead of you further down the track and plan an escape package if something happens.
Tom Bourne going to lead us back to green here. It will be 12 laps to go. Kerfan to his outside. Then it's Richmond, Daniel, and Bronson Stafford with Christopher Lawrence, the first 3 rows. Kerfan gets himself a really good jump. His teammate Richmond's going to follow him. 23 cars coming back to the greens. They stack up back there around the 9th, 10th position.
Actually wondering whether or not that was actually Kerfan that had the top line. He chose the top line. I think he led us back to green there, and I think he's made the right call as well.
number of drivers use their fast repair here under this caution. Most of them caught up in that incident. Aaron Brown, Brock Silvati, Dakota Knoll amongst them. Also, we've got a couple of drivers that their night has come to an early end. TJ Roberts, after that last incident, has brought it into the infield, and Mike Sibanovsky actually brought his car to the garage area under the caution prior to the last one.
Yeah, so that is disappointing for a lot of those guys. Strong finishes. You know what's really interesting? Watching these F4N cars working together now. Now people in the chat will be sitting here and go, "Oh yeah, but you guys, you got to put those F4N cars on the screen every now and then." Not true. They've had an interesting race. They've not had an easy race, and I think the interesting part right now is if you have a look at the way things are working, look at who Kirfan is trying to offer the drafting assistance to. He's going down to that inside. He wants his teammates to get that aero support because he wants one of his teammates to slide up and chill out here in front of both Bronson Staff and Tom Board. He wants them effectively to block their runs away and control where they're able to run. DJ Daniels, something's going on in the water for DJ Daniels. He's not meshing with these guys, and I'm wondering if there's something that's going to happen in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm not certain, but oh man, things got tight there in a 4-wide situation. That was Matthew Fleming, Joshua Billiter, Christopher Lawrence, and I think Brock Silvati was the fourth party in that situation. They all keep it together, but right now, Kirfan has what you were talking about, a teammate lined up behind him. But again, I think we touched on this last week at Pocono with the fact that DJ Daniels so far this season has not found victory lane. That's got to be creating a bit of frustration for a guy who had 3 victories in the first half of last season.
Yeah, but he's also not had the cleanest season on memory either. DJ Daniels has been racing very, very aggressive. I think he's pushing himself too hard, if I'm being honest. The drivers around, the overall standard of and pace of the drivers that are around him, I think has come up a little bit. The peak pace, we've obviously no longer got Matthew Robinson within this league, so I think the peak pace has definitely gone down, but everyone from there underneath him has, I think, come forwards, and DJ Daniels was sort of the best of the rest last season. Now, I don't think you can sit down and say that. I think you've actually got to look at Christopher Woodard as probably the best driver so far this season, and this just hasn't been his race, so all of a sudden DJ Daniels gets the chance to show off his wares.
Keep in mind,
that was a huge shot. Did you see that from Jeremy Richmond? I think he just come up and he absolutely gave a hammering to the rear corner of one of Bronson Stafford's car.
That might have been why Bronson had to go down to the inside, all that momentum, and had to take it somewhere. It's going to cost him, though, as now Richmond and Fleming will gang up on the outside and start to shuffle that 16 Toyota Camry towards the back half of the top 10. Talk about Alexander Kirfan, though. I mean, coming into this season, a lot of pressure because that is the championship-winning team that Matthew Robinson hoisted the championship trophy with last year, and he's still looking for his first win here in the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series.
Stafford is pissed. Stafford is pissed. I can see red mist descending in front of Bronson Stafford's car at this point in time. There was contact on that main straightaway, so the area is going to be work to do. He is not going to want to give this up, but he's getting no support. Somebody support him. Drama is coming.
Oh, got a car on the wall, riding the wall there in 3, Dakota Knoll in the 10, and now he's going to get hit. Brock Silvati gets into him. Caution, I don't think it's out yet.
Not out yet.
Wow, surprised it's not out
Now
yet.
it is. Yeah.
Really surprised it took that long for the yellow flag to come out, because the 97 and the 10, they were locked together for quite a good portion of time, and the 10 was not facing the right direction. He was about 50, 60 degrees pointed to further left than he should have been. Might have been waiting for oncoming traffic to throw the yellow flag, but now this means that we're going to be having ourselves a shootout in the Irish Hills.
Yeah, there's going to be... I don't think we're going to get back to green under regulation. I think this will be the first of our green-white checkers. So a really good opportunity again for a lot of these drivers to position themselves well. I think there'll be a couple of drivers here that are actually out of tyre sets. I mean, we got for tonight 6 tyre sets for tonight. So there's been enough cautions. I think everyone will have at least 1 set still left over the wall. It'd be unlikely for somebody not to have a tyre set left over to them. But there could be a situation where a couple of these drivers don't.
My goodness, somebody get Ron Gartner a new set of underwear, because he almost clobbered the 10 of Dakota Knoll, who was stopped on the top side of the center of 3 and 4. There you see him on board with the 39, and look at just how close he was from making contact with the right front on his 39.
Oh boy, that is a guy that needs to go and buy himself a lottery ticket, I think.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, my word, Seth. A couple laps here to go. All of a sudden, remember that tire save strategy that I was talking about, looking after yourself? Throw that out the window. Qualifying laps to the end, baby.
Looks like the 74 of Wesley Jeanette going to be the lucky dog under this caution. Was 2 laps down, so we'll get one of those laps back. There'll be 20 drivers on the lead lap when we go back racing. And again, we're going to have to see if it will be under regulation or if we're going to be heading into overtime here at Michigan. Kerfan the leader, Daniel in second, Tom Bourne, Jeremy Richmond, and Joshua Billett are going to be the top 5. You did have some drivers that like to come down pit road here. Some of them might be getting some damage repairs. Some of them might be coming down to take on the last set of tires if they have them. A couple of the notables would be Christopher Woodard in the 24 car.
Yeah, and that's important for him. Remember, he's sort of struggled throughout the majority of the night with bits and pieces of damage to his car. Well, now it doesn't matter. Now you're taking it, right? So you're so close to the end. You're sort of throwing everything at it. You got to come down. You got to take everything that you've got left to you and give yourself the best opportunity to go out and win this thing. I think that's the correct call. A couple other drivers in the field have got opportunities here. DJ Daniels, I'm looking at him, man. He's led the bulk of the first half of this race, and then his teammates taken over from him. I don't think he's happy with that. I think he wants to put that 96 in victory lane, and the 99 has just said, I want the top side. So Daniels has got an opportunity. If he can get that car launched correctly and he gets some support here, I really, really wonder if Tom Bourne will actually offer him that support.
Well, we're going to be going back green in regulation with 3 laps to go. 3 of our former winners from the season up inside of the top 10. Let's see if we can quickly talk with last week's winner from Pocono, Cam Caldwell, find out what the driver strategy is here for this upcoming shootout. Cam's gotten set up here in the FRM booth. You got a quick moment to talk?
Yes, sir.
All right, so getting ready for a shootout here after some incredible racing tonight, some long green flag runs at Michigan. What's the strategy from here on out to try and get yourself a multi-time win?
Don't lift. That's about all I can do at this point. I got a little bit fresher tires than the leaders, but there's some guys around me in the same strategy, so just can't lift and go for broke at this point. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a mess, I think. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, Cam, head down, mate. Go get him. Let's see if we can put you in victory lane 2 weeks in a row, eh?
Gonna try. That's the plan.
All right, so as Cam gets ready to go to work here from the 8th position, he's going to line up behind Alexander Kerfan, DJ Daniel, Jeremy Richmond, and Tom Bourne. That's the first 2 rows. Aaron Brown up there in 5th, Joshua Billett 6th, Caldwell and Gene Cato in row 4, and then it's Matthew Fleming, and oh, by the way, Zachary Woods is up inside the top 10 here in the closing stages.
Yeah, but he's in a damaged machine. He's going to pull out of the way. He's going to try and make sure that he allows... Unless... Did he not take the fast repair earlier? Is that a clean Zachary Woods I'm seeing? It is!
So. I think he took the fast repair. I think he did take the fast repair.
Oh, no. Okay, alright. I was... this camera shot I was on was showing him with a very clean car. That is not a clean car. Oh, well, Seth, here we go.
Here we go. Kerfan's got the top spot. Ooh, DJ Daniel not giving a lot of room to his teammate off of 2, trying to push Richmond up towards the outside wall. Not going to work. Richmond to 2nd. Tom Bourne going to clear into the 3rd position. Drop Daniel back to 4th. And here comes Cam Caldwell. He said he wasn't going to lift. He's not lifting through 3 and 4.
He has got 7 lap fresher tires. That is a huge margin. He needs to put the foot into overdrive and just go for it. Spin that turbo up. Look at Stafford!
Stafford, Matthew Fleming, 3 wide. Aaron Brown on the top side of that. Caldwell stuck behind all these drivers. Up at the front, battle might be off of the lead. Tom Bourne looking for the run out of 2. He's alongside Richmond for 2nd.
Yeah, and these guys have definitely done a good job with leading the race up until this point. But now it comes down to who's saved enough tire, who's got the run. Stafford's a long way back. We're coming to the white. This will run it out, I think, Seth.
Matthew Fleming
Look at Stafford!
His tires as he's going to force DJ Daniel up the track. 1 lap to go here at Michigan. 2 more miles. Kerfan leads him back to the white.
Keep your eyes on Bronson Stafford!
Oh, no! Into Jeremy Richmond. Big wreck as Lawrence is involved. We're still racing back to the checkered flag, though, off of 2. It's Bourne, Stafford, trying to chase down Kerfan.
I think Kirkman's got this. There's a long straightaway here. Keep your eyes on DJ Daniels. He'll get aggressive. Tom Bourne wants a piece of this. Tom Bourne's going to run.
Looking for
Here
a
comes
slide
Stafford.
down here. Stafford crosses him over. Back to the
That's the
start
crash.
when they come. Stafford on the bottom. Kerfan
That
on
was
the
the
top.
curse.
Give it to Stafford.
Curse is broken. Curse is broken.
Bronson Stafford started this race from 25th out of 27 cars. Slowly, methodically, and with a couple of incidents, works his way up to the race win. And as you alluded to, Scott, it's the first time that the FRN curse is broken here, with an FRN car actually going to victory lane on a broadcast.
What? No, there's additional conditions on top of that, Seth. It has to be a green FRN car. I was hoping to break it this week because I broke it a couple of weeks ago in terms of a road series, and they said to me, no, it's actually, it doesn't count. It has to be a green FRN car. So.
Man, what a move there by Bronson Stafford on the last couple of laps. The contact he made, and the car he spun out, was Jeremy Richmond, and don't forget those two had a little bit of a tiff before that previous restart.
Seth, something was just said in-game chat from Jeremy Richmond. You got something coming for you, buddy. JKR Motorsports have been aggressive at the start of the season, have controlled races. Remember, I've said people have needed to gang up, people have needed to group up to try and knock them off the top perch. Somebody's finally done that, but they've raced it in an aggressive manner. They made contact, Stafford and Richmond, but Stafford had the fresher tires. He was pushing for it. He wanted a piece of it tonight. I think he definitely was able to do it. Did he need to be as aggressive as he was? I think Richmond's going to go back and have a look at that one. I think they're both at fault. I don't think either driver is necessarily at fault wholly, and I don't think it's one of those ones that can get punished. I'll put an unofficial tag over this race result, but I think it's going to be okay.
A heck of a battle there, not only for the race win, but for third place coming back to the start-finish line. Stafford edging out Kerfan, and then Tom Bourne and DJ Daniel, they were mixing it up to see who was going to get the final spot inside the podium, and Tom Bourne barely able to edge ahead in that one. How about Matthew Fleming? He and Bronson Stafford were the furthest up with the fresher tires, and those two made some really gutsy move in the closing stages. Fleming going to come away with his best career finish tonight in 5th.
Yeah, a few drivers have driven, actually, to be perfectly honest, you can sit down and you can have a look at the race as a whole. It was actually phenomenal. It was actually a really, really good race. And there was ultimately a whole bunch of strategies that played themselves out tonight. So everyone should be overall happy with the race result. There's going to be a few guys, that are annoyed, that had runs, but remember what I said throughout the piece as well. It's everyone's responsibility to get through these corners. Everyone to look after their cars. Everyone's responsibility to give themselves a shot to go to victory lane on the last lap of the race. And ultimately, again, I think there was a lot of drivers out there tonight that raced very, very selfish races. And I think the results and the settings reflect that as well.
Saw there the incident after the white flag had been taken. Jeremy Richmond, Christopher Lawrence, and Aaron Brown were the three drivers that were involved in that one. I want to go on board here just for a brief moment with Jeremy Richmond on the back end of his race car. Did he maybe get like a little bit of a bump for Bronson Stafford going into that corner?
He did, definitely. Whether or not, there's two ways, there's two ways to look at this. Yes, did he get a bump? Yes, he did. Did it impact his run? Again, yes, it did. Was it impactful enough? I really, really strongly believe that there was a way to get through that situation without that bump. And at the end of the day, I think Richmond's pinched Stafford down. And Stafford's attempted to defend his line and hold his car at the same time. So both drivers can be annoyed. Both drivers can be disappointed with the results and how things settle down. But again, Stafford's not going to be disappointed. Stafford's obviously going to be celebrating. But Richmond's got to look at things and go, hey, look, there was a car there and I've come down a fair way. Was he Should he have done that? I think he needed to be aggressive and trying to defend his position, but at the same time, you've got to recognize that there's a cutter underneath you. So again, it's one of those situations. I think both drivers are at fault.
And here's the thing, too. When you're coming to a restart at a track like Michigan, 3 laps to go, everyone is going to be of the same mentality that Cam Collins
Exactly.
was. There's not going to be any lifting. There's not going to be any here. I'll cut you a break. I'll let you down in front of me. If
Oh,
your car
100%.
is there, if you've got that position on that car, you're not going to lift. You're going to keep it there. And if they come down to try and block you, they're going to have to pay the consequences. It's very much like the kind of consequences you would pay at a super speedway race.
Oh, 100%. And you throw that block and you throw it, with the intentions that it's going to resolve itself that way. I mean, I'm probably going to go back and have a look at those last couple laps and look at why it happened. And I think everyone really, you got to revisit your races. You've got to learn something from them. Stafford come down. Stafford was already there. Yeah, and Richmond tries to throw the block. It's late and Stafford's already there. So that one's 100% on Richmond.
Well, some blocks like you would expect to see at a super speedway. Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to Talladega next week, so these guys maybe a little bit of a preview of what we might see when we get to the high banks of Alabama next week. But let's see if we can talk with some of our podium finishers here tonight after a crazy race, an exciting race, a well-driven race for these guys, an exciting finish. Let's talk with the guy that brings it home 3rd place here tonight, Tom Bourne. Hey, Tom, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
And heck of a drive by you here tonight. Only a few drivers were willing to venture up there to that extreme high line. You were one of them and reaped the benefits of it, getting yourself up through the field into good track position around the midway point of this race. But let's talk about that final run to the checkers, because a crazy 3-lap shootout.
Yeah, I should have pit under that last caution. Bronson told me to, and I'm like, it's going to restart with like 2 to go, or it's going to be a green white checker. So yeah, that ended up happening, and apparently 3 laps was enough. But yeah, it was just great racing all around. Like I feel bad for JKR guys getting wrecked going down to 1 on the last lap. I had nothing.
No,
What?
I mean, okay, you can feel bad for them. That's fine, but you had nothing to do with what happened there.
No.
Did that themselves.
Listen, I know it has nothing to do with me, but at the same time, it's like I feel bad because like
It was a great race.
Yeah, it was going to be a great race no matter what. I mean,
Yeah.
there was like 10 cars under a blanket or something like that, and then it kind of just ended up just But yeah, so the car was good.
When you come back to the white flag, and ultimately, when I was having a look at it, there was a 3-wide scenario. There was 7 cars basically covered by less than half a second, coming back to that white flag. In that sort of a scenario, you expect chaos because there's 1 lap. Nobody wants to get beaten. Everyone wants to take that checkered flag. It's not the desired result. Was that potentially the expected result, however?
Definitely pitting, definitely with a caution coming out with 5 to go, and them people taking tires, people staying out. There was going to be carnage no matter what. I didn't think it was going to make its way back to the white flag. I thought we were going to have a green white checker, but that is probably one of the most nerve-wracking moments that you can be in, coming down to the wire. White flag, 7-8 cars literally on top of each other. Some have fresh tires, some don't. It's just it's nerve-wracking, and unfortunately the majority of the time some people get wrecked, and that's what unfortunately iRacing is accustomed to, is a lot of wrecks.
We saw you nearly pull off this victory there, driving it deep into turn 3. You actually did get up ahead of the 99 at that one point before Bronson crossed you over. I mean, if you could go back and you could make those final 2 corners a little bit different, what would be the change that you would do to make sure that you are the one leading them back to that checkered flag?
Try and go to the outside. Try and get to the right rear corner panel of the 99. 99. I thought I was going to have more grip on the bottom, and I did not. And I didn't want to take out the 99. I didn't want to take out anyone racing up there. So, you know what? I'm like, maybe if I went to the outside, I could have held off Bronson and finished second. I don't know, but at the same time, it's not really it's still a good points day, and that's really what we need right now going forward.
Definitely good points day for you. You've had some hardships last couple of weeks at both Pocono and also at Nashville Super Speedway. So good solid
now,
points
hold
run
on.
for you here.
Hold on. I did finish third at Pocono.
Oh, you did finish third at Pocono. You're right.
All right.
What am I thinking of? I think I'm Atlanta,
You're-
maybe. That might be
Well,
where I'm
Atlanta, I
thinking of.
finished fourth, but now we don't talk about Nashville, okay?
Okay, all right. We won't talk about Nashville. I mean, what
Talk
track?
about
Hold
Nashville or
on, I don't
Daytona.
remember more.
I was
But
going to say, Tom, do we just expect to keep talking to you as third place again this week? Tom Bourne, he's made a history of this.
Don't put that juju on me, okay? Because you're gonna
Juju.
now. I'm gonna be like, all right, they're expecting me now. No. I'll get up here when I get up here. That's all I gotta do.
So next week it's Jacob
Juju.
racing for first, second, fourth, and fifth because we know who's going to finish third. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, 3 for Dale, okay? You gotta. I'm paying tribute. 20
Can you
years
go
later, I gotta
ahead
finish.
and bribe Josh Billiter to do a number change with you?
No, I like my 54. Thank you.
Well, undoubtedly, this good finish is going to move you up into the top 10. The points, 11th coming into this race, Tom. So congratulations on that. We're now going to give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank G Fuel, FRN for putting on an amazing broadcast like you guys always do. The curse is finally broken. You'll hear from Bronson in a few, but about that.
Look, I mean, I'm pretty sure Seth is already death from me yelling "curse is broken."
I had no control over what was going on the broadcast. So, but yeah, curse is broken. 2 FRN cards in the top 10, top 3, I should say.
Yep.
It's a long time coming, but I want to thank my girlfriend Kira. She's always supporting me, and she's my biggest fan and everything like that. All the cliche stuff. My mom and grandma and uncle are watching and everything, so it's just a great run all around.
I'm Born, P3 here tonight at Michigan after an exciting finish in the Irish Hills. Congratulations, Tom. Best of luck next week at Talladega Superspeedway.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it.
I can hear the excitement in his voice. Nonetheless, let's see if we can now talk with the guy who comes up runner-up here this evening, 7th in the points coming into this race, and that's Alexander Kerfan. Hey, Alex, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Oh yeah, I got you.
Man, so close to getting that 99 to victory lane for the first time this season. You led him back to the white flag lap, but man, you had some hungry drivers driving it deep on you there into turn 3. What could you have done to keep them in your rearview mirror?
Man, I don't think I could have done anything different. Once the 16 got past my teammates right behind me, it was pretty much smooth sailing for him. He had so much grip below me heading out of 4. I think if I held the low line, he would have had the same deal. Got a run out of 4 and had me at the line. I can't be mad at that. I'm pretty satisfied with P2 after that.
What's the feeling like in the Team JKR garage at this point? I heard a couple comments. I mentioned to Seth actually that Jeremy's pretty teed off. To me, it looked like it was a really strong race for the entire team, and I still see some cracks and some chinks there in the armor. I definitely feel like you guys could have worked together a fair bit more coming back to that white flag in terms of drafting support and that. So is that something you guys have got to work together on and see if you can improve?
Yeah, he's very passionate about racing. I don't discredit him about anything.
I think it's the right call.
Yeah, he loves what he does. As far as our teamwork, we're working really hard on it. I feel like this race was one of our best races in terms of teamwork. We had all of us in the front, top 5, top 10 entire race, top 3 for a good chunk. I feel like, I don't know. I think we're coming around. Definitely some more improvement to do, like you said, but we're definitely coming around.
Well, we definitely saw in the season opener at Daytona, all the JKR cars up at the front, all working together, and eventually a JKR machine and Brock Savati going to victory lane. I mean, we're heading to Talladega next week, so can we expect the same thing with all the teammates working together and maybe potentially you getting your first win?
Yeah, for sure. I was really happy with my pole at the first super speedway, so I'll be looking to repeat that performance. A win is definitely possible, and I feel like we can be even better prepared for next week, have better teamwork, and maybe even put all of us in the top 10.
Alexander Kerfan, runner-up here tonight at Michigan. He'll look to finish one position better next week at Talladega, but congrats on a great run here this evening, Alexander. We're going to now turn the mic over to you for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
I gotta thank my family for watching right now. Huge support from them. Gotta thank Jeremy Richmond for giving me this opportunity to race on the team. Thanks to all of our sponsors, Auto Ventures, JR's Mobile Detailing, Bam Auto, Matt Rob Cuts, Rocco Sign Shop. The list goes on. If I forgot any, I'm sorry. Gotta thank all my teammates. They're awesome. I love talking to them. They're great. Yeah, really satisfied. Thanks, guys. I want to thank you guys too. Great broadcast.
That's Alexander Kerfan, P2 here tonight in the Irish Hills at Michigan in the BackFire 200. Congratulations, Alexander. Best of luck next week.
Thank you. Have a good one.
And let's go down to Victory Lane. It is the first time this season that a manufacturer other than a Chevrolet Bowtie has gone to Victory Lane. It's the Toyota Camry of Bronson Stafford. Hey, Bronson, Scott, and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, man, I'll tell you what a wild 3-lap shootout here tonight at Michigan. We knew that there were drivers on varying tire strategies up all the way through the top 10, even the top 15. Drivers fighting for every position possible, and not a lot of grip available to drivers that wanted to make that move on the inside line, but you were able to get that nice exit through the center of 3 and 4 and off the corner coming back to the start-finish line. Did you think it was going to stick? Because we saw Tom Bourne try it, and he drifted up the track.
I think the biggest thing was fresh tires. In all honesty, just having the 7 to 10 lap fresher than the rest of the guys all in the field. You can just full throttle for even in draft. You can full throttle like 3-4 laps, and it was literally 3 laps left in the race. So it was just get to the front in time and hopefully get there and be able to make a move. And obviously it happened. Really quick though, I definitely am sorry to Richmond. I pushed him down the entire front stretch. I pulled out really late into entry 1, and we just kind of. I don't think he expected me to pull out so late, and he went to arc the corner with older tires, and I was just barely below him and clipped him, and it ended his night. But I mean, yeah, we were able to recover that and still get there in 3 and 4 and get off of 4 and get the win. So.
I think Scott's still there. Scott?
I've got my microphone muted, which is probably for the good because mine was in the gutter there for a few moments. So.
Okay.
Look, I mean, it's difficult. I was reviewing the incident, and it's one of those cases whereby to be a successful driver, you have to review every incident. If you're not reviewing every incident, you're gonna get beaten by all the other drivers who do review their incidents. So go back and you'll have a look at that one, and you'll make your own judgments. But it was a very, very late block that was thrown and by Jeremy. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're there. You've got your nose there. Do you feel like he's disrespected you in any way by not allowing you?
No.
It's the last lap though. You've got to make the move, and he's going to try and make the
It's
block.
white flag. Yeah, no, it's white flag. I fully get it. I think I think we literally just went for the same piece of track at the exact same time, and I just had, because I was in the draft, I got there a little bit sooner, and it ended up getting to his rear a little bit, like his rear tire, and it's super unfortunate. I honestly just think it's racing sometimes, unfortunately, and it happens. I mean, it sucks, but yeah.
We ended
Such
up
is life.
we ended up hearing as well. Scott ended up hearing where we heard Richmond say that somewhere further on down the line there might be a little bit of payback coming. I mean, do you at some point during this week heading into Talladega, do you reach out to him, try and have this be water under the bridge?
We've already talk a little bit in general. We've kind of displayed both of our sides, and I'm only part time. The last thing I want to do is come here and mess with people's points situations, and I'm pretty sure I'm not even here next week at all, unless I don't think I am, just regardless. But the last thing I want to do is try and ruin someone it's in for points and try and do anything like that. But I came here with the set out goal to win for FRN. And according to Matt Rod, that is the curse broken, by the way, since the green FRN logo on the hood of the car has finally won a race.
Oh, so there was more conditions again on top of it?
It's the primary green FRN.
No.
apparently.
It has to be on the hood.
I asked him. It was the green primary, and the green primary FRN was the one there. So I guess that's curse broken, boys. That means you can now run green all the time and win every week.
So now I'm
So that means I have to win Wednesday
what,
now, don't I?
Well, I'm wondering now what stipulation Matt's going to have of what color FRN logo has to be on the hood of the car now to be able to break
Now
yet another
that
curse.
it's broken, we got to win with every
Yeah.
color in the spectrum.
Is it gonna be black? Is it gonna be pink? I don't know.
We got to win with every color now.
Every color of the rainbow, perfect. Every Skittles color, you have to win with
There
every
you
Skittles
go.
color.
There you go. Every Skittles color.
Well, Bronson, I mean, obviously, well-driven race. We knew that coming into that 3-lap shootout, nobody was going to give an inch. Nobody was going to lift. It was going to be basically whoever had what they had was going to be the first one back to the start finish line, was going to take this checkered flag. Congratulations on the victory tonight. We're now going to give you the opportunity for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors and shout-outs.
Oh yeah, definitely FRN with you guys on the car and everything like that, and everything going on there. And Matt Rod, he got all this set up really late, and obviously Hupka and the admins and stuff getting me in last week and running and all that stuff. It's fun. It's fun to drive a stock car again. So it's just all good fun. And like I said, I'm probably not here next week, so hopefully I'll tune in next week and see what it's all about, unless something changes.
That's Bronson Stafford. He picks up the victory here tonight in the BackFire 200 at Michigan. Congratulations, Bronson, on an incredible finish and a great win.
All right, yeah. Thanks, Seth. Thanks, Scott.
That concludes coverage here tonight from Michigan International. One thing that I just want to point out real quickly here, Scott, was something that you talked about last week after we had many, many cautions at Pocono, and that was drivers looking back at that race, reflecting, and then doing something about it the following week. I think we can safely say that's exactly what they did. I mean, this was a heck of a race here today at Michigan.
I disagree. It's difficult because I disagree and I agree at the same time. I definitely feel as if drivers have done something to improve. That much I do agree with. If they've done enough for my liking, no. I'm still going to disagree with that. But I like the fact that I'm disagreeing there, because if they come out this week and they were perfect, where do they go from here? It's a lot more difficult. So there's definitely a lot of progress out there on track, but ultimately I still see a bunch of guys overdriving their cars, and that scares and frightens me in terms of future prospects. They've got to be careful, and they've got to clean it up still. A lot of guys are overworking that front right tire, and they need to practice at restricting the amount of pressure that they are putting on that front right tire, and as soon as they do that, they'll be in a much better spot.
What are we thinking for next week at Talladega? I mean, obviously we know that the JKR drivers, they're going to be up there. They were very much in control of the Daytona race. I mean, do we see maybe Rebel Racing? They've been fast the last couple of weeks. Do we see them take the fight to the JKR drivers? Or, I mean, there's some other teams out there as well that have seemed to be getting some speed in the last couple of weeks. Radius Racing has been very fast. Both of their drivers finishing up in the top 10 here tonight. So do we see maybe a little bit more of a competitive race at Talladega next week as opposed to the JKR Fest we had at the front at Daytona?
Potentially. It's again, Seth. It's difficult because it is Talladega. I mean, JKR definitely were very grouped up. If you have a look back to our first race of the season, JKR dominated. They were right there, and we had Salvati towards the 4. Kurthan was right there. So both guys are very, very strong at the super speedway races. What do we see next week? It depends. I mean, next week, if we're talking about drivers' overall improvement, next week is going to be the margin for me. So Woodard was a phenomenal pusher. the last time we were at a super speedway race. He's been up there, didn't have that successful night tonight. I need to keep my eyes on him next week. I'll have my eyes for sure glued to his rear bumper.
Well, what an incredible first half of the regular season here for the second season, the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series, because not only have we had 5 different drivers go to victory lane here in the first 5 races, but every single one of them have captured their first career win in the BackFire Sim Racing League. So, I mean, we'll see if the streak continues on here for the second half of the regular season. It's the home stretch for drivers to make their final moves to get into the 16-car playoffs. Several drivers at this point in time may have already established themselves playoff spots. Not win you're in situation, but just on the consistency they've shown in the first half of this season. But going to be very interesting to see what late moves are made when we head to Talladega next week. We've got some other tracks as well that are making their debuts in the schedule that we did not have last season, including Charlotte. We've got New Hampshire coming up after that. Watkins Glen's going to be the road course just before we set the playoff grid at Las Vegas. So a lot to come here in the second half of the regular season. It's going to be a lot of fun to be able to bring you the action, and we'll be covering Talladega next week. That'll be next Friday night with the green flag flying at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it was exciting for me nonetheless here tonight, Scott. I mean, some incredible racing, long green flag runs here at Michigan. I appreciate you joining me in the booth for this one.
Oh, another phenomenal race again, Seth. I mean, you cannot complain about the action when you come to the BackFire Sim Racing series. The action has been phenomenal. The racing close. Yeah, there's issues, but there's issues no matter where you go on track. It's just how you resolve those issues that's the real big decider. So we'll see that again next week. I think next week is set itself up to be probably the best race of the season so far.
If you want to see some exciting racing as well, be sure to tune in tomorrow night as we're going to have a 3-commentator broadcast. Yeah, we're heading to Scott's neck of the woods. The FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals. They're heading to Bathurst, Mount Panorama. I'll let you know, Scott, our broadcast colleague Matthew Rodriguez sent me a video of a hot lap around that track. I'm in fear for those drivers tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun. We hope you guys will be joining us tomorrow night as we're going to be having that broadcast starting up at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to join us for that. But once again, thanks for joining us here tonight at Michigan International. Bronson Stafford, your winner, his first career win in the BackFire Sim Racing League. For Scott Rankin, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night as you've been watching the broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.